Hi everyone, I'm Mims and welcome to my channel. Thanks for being here. It's super early in the morning. I wanted to make this video before I start a day of teaching. I'm an online teacher. But anyway, I just had a birthday and I indulged a bit and got myself some tarot gifts and I just wanted to share. So I have 4 new decks. And then I found a really great bargain on a used deck that looks to me brand new. And I also have a really cool tarot book that I've been wanting for a while. So I just thought I would share them. These are all mass market kind of things. And I know lots of people have, I'm sure, talked about them. But anyway, we'll get into it. So the first one, this is the used deck that I got. This is the Hermetic Tarot, and it's funny because I just made a video that was like last week, I lose track, that was all about secondhand decks, so I could now add this one. I had been wanting this one for a while because about 1.5 years ago, I found a copy. I got it on Amazon, not realizing that what I ended up getting was not an official copy. It was this deck, but a smaller version, and it had a bag, and it didn't have like the box or the little booklet to go with it. So anyway, I was excited to finally get the Hermetic Tarot, you know, the real copy. I've been wanting this one for a while, not only to replace the one that I had, but I've been wanting to do kind of a side-by-side study, and I think that I will at some point. I want to study or you know, do some kind of side-by-side comparisons of some Golden Dawn decks. So the Rider-Waite Smith, this one, I have a Golden Dawn deck, and then the Thoth deck. So I just thought it would be interesting to do. So this is a Hermetic Tarot. This is by Godfrey Dowson, and it's US Games. So it's and it's in order right now. So those are the backs. And so I'll just flip through some of the cards. But I found this one on Mercari, which is a resale site in some ways similar to like an eBay. But as far as I know, it's just available in the US and Japan. At least from what I understand. And I have found some really good deals for used decks there. So yeah, that is the Hermetic Tarot. And this was one, like I said, it was a used copy, but it was definitely one that I had been wanting. And as far as I could tell, it had like it had sealing on it, but it looked like it had been opened, but that was it. So I was super excited to add this in to my collection. And so that was my first birthday tarot gift. Hermetic Tarot, a used copy, but very new. Next, I got 4 mass market decks, in no particular order. The Albano-Waite. I started with the Rider-Waite Smith, and I have some other, I have the Universal Waite, which is the one that was colorized by Mary Hanson Roberts, but I had been really interested in this deck. So this is, and I'm sure most of you know this, but I always like to assume that nobody does, just in case. So there are several different versions of the Rider-Waite Smith deck that have been recolorized. The one that I mentioned was the Universal Waite, that was recolored by Mary Hanson Roberts, sold by US Games. There's like the Radiant Waite. There's a whole bunch of different ones where they might use the same line work of Pamela Colman-Smith, but then some different colorings. And so this one is the Albano-Waite, and this one says, I think it says it on the back, yeah, let's see. So originally this was made, yeah, this is a facsimile of the 1968 edition, published by Tarot Productions under the direction of Frankie Albano. So one of the reasons that I was interested in this, so those are the backs, was just the fun coloring. And there are some other versions of this deck, you know, colorings that are more rare and expensive. And I didn't really care about that, but I kind of loved getting a different version. I quite enjoy the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I get why people don't, but I loved all these kind of fun, vivid colors. And like here you get these blues instead of the gray that we usually find. And this was a bargain. I was gonna find, let's see, oh yeah. So here we've got like the devil, those purples, the tower here. And the moon, I love those really vivid. And then here you've got kind of some of the off-whites. And there's like a green. Let's see what else we've got. Oh yeah, I like the Page of Cups. Look at how bright. Let's see. I feel like the blanket on that one is quite vivid. Oh yeah, and then all the pentacles kind of in their orange and green. And then the really vivid oranges. Yeah, so I just thought it was a fun one to add in and quite economical, and because it's not rare or anything, but still just something kind of fun to add in. So that is the Albano-Waite Tarot. So again, it had been one on my list for a while, and I was excited to see it. Okay, next is the Tempest Tarot deck. This is the by Maisy Bristol, and this is the one put out by US Games. This was an indie deck that I don't remember when it first came out, but I think it's definitely been out a while. And I first came across Maisy Bristol, and that's why I wanted the deck. I came across an article of hers where she talked about she started, and I'm sure a lot of you know her, know of her work or know her. I know she's got quite a following on Instagram, I think is where a lot of her followers are. But she wrote a really great article about being an online tarot reader. And it was I just remember enjoying it and like what she talked about, not so much in a how-to, but just in a perspective. And that it was kind of in a way, if I can find it, I'll put a link to it below. Anyway, it's kind of what put her on my awareness. I found the article, and then I followed her on Instagram and so forth, and would occasionally like watch her YouTube channel, even when I wasn't really watching TarotTube, but I would occasionally watch some of her videos. Anyway, probably like in 2020 or something. Anyway, when I knew that she had a deck, and then I looked at it, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, it was on my wish list, but it wasn't necessarily like something that was gonna go right to the top. So then when it went mass market, I definitely bumped it up because I knew that it would be a great one. So this is the Tempest. This came out, I think, earlier this year, 2025. Anyway, these are the backs, and so it's all like pirates and mermaids and mythic sea creatures. Oh, okay, they're calling them enchanting sea maidens. Yeah, Tempest Tarot invites you on a nautical adventure. So I just love these muted greens and so forth. and definitely different than anything else that I have in my collection. And for sure, I just really enjoy her writing, and that was probably the big thing that kind of made me want to get this deck. You know, even, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure when it first came out, but I was aware of her writing when I found some of her articles back in like 2019, 2020. And I just was excited to add this in. And I thought it was kind of a fun thing to add. That's got to be one of my favorite moon cards. And I've never lived by the ocean, but, and even though this is more in the, yeah, I was just super excited about it. So that is the Tempest Tarot by Maisy Bristol. And like I said, I had wanted this because I really loved her writing. And I was excited then when this became mass market. Okay, next one, if I can get this back in. Two more, and then a book. This is the Desert Illuminations Tarot. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. And this is by Lindsay Williams. This is the mass market version. This is another one of those decks that I didn't actually know about its existence until it was out of print. And then I was super excited to find out that it was going mass market. And it either went mass market like in the very end of 24 or the beginning of 25. I grew up in New Mexico. I don't think I've ever shared that detail. And Lindsay Williams is a New Mexico artist. I don't know if she's always lived there, but this deck definitely, but she lives in Tier C, which is Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. And I think she even teaches art. Anyway, this deck definitely felt like it captured New Mexico quite well. And I was super excited to get this one. And I was glad because I didn't even know of her other creations, you know, until this one was hitting the mass market. And so I was glad because, I don't know, sometime last year when I became aware of her decks, I remember just feeling kind of disappointed, and then I was super excited that this was, you know, because they were both out of print. So these are the backs, and this is still in order because I haven't worked with it yet. And I know this has been shown quite a bit, but I love these colors. I'm excited to dive in. I'm pretty sure that is Georgia O'Keeffe. And I definitely can't wait to read through the guidebook and see if I can identify whether I'm guessing that they are within the book, but I think it will just be fun to work with it. And I'm currently not in New Mexico right now, and I miss it, and it feels like it's kind of the place. It's not just like nostalgia for home, but it's kind of the place where I feel like I can breathe. And I was excited to add this in. And I just think that her artwork is brilliant. And I love this take on the tarot. It's just, I think I showed the backs, but just in case. And then that beautiful kind of teal turquoise, I guess it's more teal, isn't it? But yeah, and then I love that the suits, we've got cactus and daggers and then jugs for cups, and then chilies for pentacles. And yeah, I'm super excited about it, and I just love how iconic it is and how much it shows some of the best of New Mexico in terms of heritage and scenery and colorful characters and so forth. And yeah, that is the Desert Illuminations Tarot by Lindsay D. Williams, the mass market edition. Lastly, this deck is Goddess of Love Tarot. I've seen this for a while, and I really had to look through it to decide for sure that I wanted it. This is definitely a little different than anything else that I have. This is mass market. This is Goddess of Love Tarot by Gabriella Herstick, illustrated by Julia Popescu, and this is published by, I don't even know. Anyway, I know this has been shown, or at least in my feed, there's quite a few people that I follow in terms of, you know, like that I watch TarotTube that have talked about this deck. And there was something about it that finally made me just go ahead and get it. So these are the backs. And so we have the Void. We'll flip through the majors. But I am kind of interested in working on some self-love stuff with it. Weirdly, I just read Tom Benjamin's blog where he talked about kind of being sick of divine feminine stuff. And I think what he was really getting to was he's at least what he was talking about in his blog, he was talking specifically about he wants there to just be more divine. Like he said, he understands the need for it, but he's wanting more like divine individual sorts of things rather than it being so gendered. And I really agreed with his blog, and yet here I am ordering this deck. Anyway, I'm going to put the link to his blog below because I thought it was really interesting, and I just I adore his videos, and I adore his perspective. I think he's quite good. But anyway, I'm still excited to work with this deck, and I feel like you can agree or understand a perspective and still want to go in this way. And I've never really worked with like divine feminine energy, so I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. And I'm also interested, there's another tarot tuber who I really love, Gillian Tate, and Gillian Marie Tate, I think. I'll put the link to her channel below. She has talked a lot about this deck, particularly on her Instagram, but she is offering a class on the divine, and I just thought that that was kind of an interesting take, and I'm kind of interested in taking that class. So that is the Goddess of Love Tarot. Super excited. And then last thing is the Tarot and Divination Cards, a visual archive. This is by Laetitia Barbier. I think she's French. I mean, I know she's French. I'm just not quite sure about the pronunciation. I have been interested, and there are like 3 or 4 that I know of off the top of my head, tarot books that go through some of the visual history of like kind of the visual archives of tarot. And what I love what she's done in this book, there's one by Tashin, or published by Tashin, I think is how you say it. There's another one that was published, I think, in like 2021. I think they kind of all came out within the same, 2 or 3 years of each other. But I was particularly interested in this one, and I was excited to add this in. I feel like she really knows her stuff. Not that the other 2 books wouldn't be lovely additions to my collection as well, but I was just particularly excited about this one. So this one has a foreword by Rachel Pollack. This came out in, I don't even know. I think like 2021 maybe. And so it has, it's a hefty book. And so there are all of these beautiful, a little bit of the history of the cards, and then it's kind of heavy. And so it goes through, some of those examples. And so then you kind of have this, so like you have the Fool, and this one is the Laughing Fool, attributed to Jacob Cornelis van Oostenen, 16th century. So then, and it talks about kind of like each of the major arcana, and then see, like, here you have like a picture of Rihanna from the Met Gala in 2018 as like a modern day version of the Popess or High Priestess. So I love how she kind of brings in like some pop culture, and then, and then we go back to, I think, isn't this from the Visconti Sforza? Yeah, that one's from the Visconti Sforza. So I'm just excited about this because I love how she kind of brings in the modern age. And then in the back, so in addition to going through all of the major arcana, that's probably almost half of the book. And then in the minor arcana, she talks about like some traditional meanings and some, so then you get into some different cards, different suit, from the different suits. And then towards the very back, you have a little bit about there's a Talia in here, and a little bit about that particular deck, or those decks, because I know there's more than one. And then there's a little bit about Lenormand, I guess would be a better way to say that. And a little bit about her life, and then here's the hieroglyph. So then it gets into more other iconic decks. The Hieroglyphic Tarot. And then we get into some of the, some more iconic decks, like antique-wise. And then modern tarot. Just showing a few of the decks, but, like, so we've got I always forget the name of this deck. Pavlov's Tarot. So, while only examining a few, I feel like with the modern decks, she really gets into some of it, and I'm super excited to have it. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun just to flip through occasionally, just to open it up and like look at something. I think it definitely will be something worthy of study. And yeah, so those are just a few decks and then books that I indulged in for my birthday. So anyway, do you have anything on your wish list or that you would want to indulge in if you were so lucky? I just feel really lucky to have added all of those in. I found some good sales. I had some gift cards, and then I used a little birthday money, and then I just splurged on some of my own. So I'm really excited to add all of these in, and these were all things that I had been, you know, wanting for quite a while. So it felt good to, you know, add them in, of course. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you're doing well. It's a weird world, and it feels somewhat indulgent to just sit here, drink coffee, and look at all of my fun tarot editions. But there we go. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're finding joy. I hope you're finding ways to take care of others, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Take care.